leaders in their country, and the U.S. getting cheated economically, taken advantage of by the Chinese Communist Party. So looking forward now, the committee is going to be addressing China building up its military and its spying, and that does include the way that it uses things like TikTok to collect American users' data, allegedly, and very real concerns that China could make Taiwan the next Ukraine by possibly invading in the next couple of years. Also moving forward, sources on the committee tell me there's going to be a big focus on how to cut off Chinese manufacturing and the United States' dependence on it for things that are really critical, things like medicines, things like, cheap goods, but also things that go into even our military hardware and chips that go into our military vehicles. When you think about the United States relying on China for those kinds of things, it does become a bit more clear why that is a threat potentially to national security. So it's a big purview that this committee has. They're going to try to tackle all of it. And I should mention something that you started with, Marty, which is that Democrats and Republicans on this committee are very eager to talk about the fact that they are bipartisan, that they're working together, and that unlike a lot of other committees and other investigations, it seems that they do have the bigger goals of this committee in common. So let's see if they continue that. But right now, that was a big show of unity yesterday, and all of them said that that's something that, frankly, the Chinese government probably does not want to see, a united American and congressional committee working together.
Yeah, shared ideas and a shared urgency, it sounds like. Joe, there was a moment when protesters stood up at the beginning and started shouting out about the anti-Asian effort they claim they're seeing. Did the committee address any of these concerns?
No, he's here.
Yeah, it was notable yesterday. That's what the protesters stood up and screamed about. I've been talking to parties, both parties who are involved in this committee and members and leaders. They are very adamant. They try to hammer the point home that this is not an anti-Chinese committee, that this is not an anti-Chinese American committee, but this is strictly looking at ways that the Chinese Communist Party, that the governing body, is harmful to the United States. And they really want to make that distinction very clear. And a couple of members actually did that yesterday after the protesters stood up by saying that it is a good thing that we're allowed to, in this country, have the First Amendment that gives us the right to come into a congressional hearing with a sign and protest. And they said that if this exact instance happened in China, the CCP would not be giving that kind of allowance to protesters there. So they kind of use the moment to highlight part of the reason why their committee exists in the first place. I thought it was a really interesting moment that stood out.
Important distinction at that. Joe Giglio, thank you for that. All right, the largest yearly meetings of conservatives getting underway today near our nation's capital. Former President Trump is headlining the Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC, which is holding 4 days of speeches from lawmakers and organizers. Tom Dempsey is live for us this morning with an update. Tom, this year's event may be more notable for who won't be there.
Yeah, absolutely, Marty. CPAC serves as a blockbuster event for the Republican Party, and as they get set for the race for the White House in 2024, like you said, it's also notable about who won't be there this year. But among the notable guests, all three declared presidential candidates for the Republicans are going to be speaking at National Harbor in Maryland, not too far from where we are here in D.C. And obviously their speeches are going to be something to pay attention to, as well as sort of the issues that they bring up, and that ever-popular straw poll held at the end of CPAC. Of course, former President Donald Trump will be the headline speaker for the event this year. He's no stranger to CPAC, as he's made appearances and speeches in years past. But before he delivers his address there, we'll hear from Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy, both of whom announced runs for the White House last month. The reception they received from the crowd, and any moments of mentioning the former president, will be key things to watch. Many others, though, will also be attending and speaking at CPAC. That includes notable names like Senator Ted Cruz, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, last year's Arizona gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake, and former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who also continues to be a possible presidential candidate. Several different discussions, though, will be held as well during the event, and we can get a glimpse of what issues we focused on with this tweet from CPAC just last week, saying, quote, open doors, unaddressed spy balloons, record overdoses. America is under attack. It's time we go on the offensive and start protecting the country we love so dearly. And again, one thing of note as well, beyond who won't be attending, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis remains one of the top names mentioned as a possible Republican presidential nominee, will not be at CPAC as he promotes his new book. Former Vice President Mike Pence, also possibly considering a run for the White House, won't be attending, as well as House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Now, CPAC kicks off later today, goes until Saturday. That's when President Donald Trump will speak to the crowd, Marty.
Tom, one of the main organizers has faced controversy recently. Tell us about that.
Yeah, there's some unwanted attention for the event. We're talking about Matt Schlapp. He's the chairman of the American Conservative Union and one of the main organizers for CPAC. Right now, he's facing an allegation of sexual assault coming from a GOP campaign aide. He has denied that allegation. But again, we're talking about this sort of Republican star-studded lineup. The speeches that are going to be happening, the timing of it, obviously in the build-up to the 2024 presidential race. Organizers really don't want to be focusing on that, but a lot of people, are asking questions about what are the big things.
All right, Tom Dempsey in Washington, D.C. Tom, thank you. We've got some breaking news right now happening at this hour. Attorney General Merrick Garland is testifying before the Senate Judiciary Committee. He is expected to be questioned on the probes into the classified documents seized from both President Biden and former President Trump. Allison Harris is following that for us this morning. She joins us live from the White House with the very latest. Good morning, Allison.
Guy's got a lead on Kenny.
Good morning, Bernie. So the Attorney General has already been getting questions about Hunter Biden. He is saying that he has essentially recused himself from handling any matters involving Hunter Biden, saying that he has handed that over to the U.S. Attorney in Delaware. Getting those questions from the senator from Iowa, Republican Chuck Grassley, asking him if he's being impartial in handling those, if he's being supportive of whistleblowers, if they have come forward or if they do come forward. Merrick Garland's making the distinction that he has not heard anything from the U.S. Attorney in Delaware, that he needs any more resources in these potential investigations of Hunter Biden. So you're hearing there some of what we're expecting to be hearing, lines of questioning about impartiality and fairness in the Justice Department. There's a lot of concern from Republicans specifically that they're giving political preferential treatment to the Biden family. So expect to hear more about that today. Listen to some of what Merrick Garland said in his opening remarks.
Certainly has our support with respect to finding a better way to get the social media companies, whether it's civil or criminal, to take these kind of things off their platforms, to search for them, to not use algorithms that recommend them.
And Attorney General Merrick Garland already getting many questions about fentanyl, which Senator Lindsey Graham, he's the ranking member on the Senate Judiciary Committee, he's pointing out that this kills more Americans than violence in America and car wrecks. Garland pressed about whether current laws are working to stop the flow of fentanyl across the border and then throughout the United States. Garland saying they're not stopping fentanyl from killing Americans, but we are putting all the resources Congress is providing to us towards addressing this crisis. Garland also asked if Mexican drug cartels should be deemed foreign terrorist organizations. You're hearing those calls from so many lawmakers on the Hill. Garland saying that there are diplomatic concerns in regard to Mexico and that those designations would ultimately come from the State Department. Garland saying that Mexico is trying to help the U.S. try to stop the flow of fentanyl, but he added that Mexico could do much more. Listen to some of this exchange between Senator Lindsey Graham and Merrick Garland.
Fentanyl deaths are more than gun and accident deaths combined in the United States. Did you know that?
Yes, sir.
I mean, how would you describe the fentanyl problem in America?
It's a horrible epidemic, but it's an epidemic that's been unleashed on purpose by the Sinaloa and the new generation of Jalisco cartels.
Let's just stop and absorb that for a moment. It's a horrible epidemic. It kills more people than car wrecks and gun violence combined. The question is, what are we going to do about it?
And really, Marty, so many people are watching to see what happens when the Attorney General is asked about DOJ investigations into former President Trump and President Biden, their handlings of classified documents, those special counsel investigations now underway. Not only what he's going to be asked, but what he can say, if anything, about that as I mentioned, Republicans are concerned that the DOJ, as they say, is being weaponized against Republicans, that President Biden is getting different treatment than Donald Trump, with the raid on Mar-a-Lago, not seeing an FBI raid in regard to President Biden and the handling of classified materials. So we will continue watching. Marty, criticism of political preferences. All right, Alex, it's a busy morning in D.C. Thank you for that update. The mayor of New York City this morning getting some pushback for discussing his faith. Some are now accusing Mayor Eric Adams of mixing religion and politics, as he spoke at an interfaith breakfast. News Nation's Drake Clark is live in New York with more on what the mayor said.
Marty, good morning. Yeah, the mayor gave a rousing speech yesterday. At times it sounded more like a sermon. The mayor was very animated and unabashed about his faith, calling himself a servant of God. And this is a mayor that never really has strayed away from his strong sense of faith. But yesterday, many people say he may have gone too far with his most recent comments. The mayor delivered a near 30-minute speech yesterday at an interfaith breakfast where some 300 people were in attendance. The mayor told the group he walks and talks with God on a regular basis, and when he puts policies into place, he does so with a God-like approach. He said when the decision was made to take prayer out of schools, guns came in, also saying a lack of faith contributes to the city's homelessness problem. Here's more from the mayor talking about his faith.
I am still a child of God and will always be a child of God, and I want to apologize about being a child of God. It is not going to happen.
I found someone who can decrypt the data.
But it was the mayor's speech that lit a fire under a lot of people when he started talking about the separation of church and state. With some people saying they take issue with his personal point of view. Take a listen.
What veto?
We got no separation of church and state. State is the body. Church is the heart. You take the heart out of the body dies. I can't separate my belief because I'm an elected official.
Find another way.
There is no other way.
The executive director of New York Civil Liberties Union said this in a statement. It is odd that Mayor Adams would need a refresher on the First Amendment. After all, he has sworn to uphold the Constitution more than once, first as a police officer, later as a state representative, and then last year upon becoming mayor. But the mayor's spokesperson also quickly replied to that statement, saying, the mayor personally believes all of our faiths would ensure we are humane to one